Hi, I'm Mercy, and I'm with the Proverbs 31 Project. And I want you to take this time to think about someone who you love so dearly, someone that you might even consider taking a bullet for. And then think of that person and imagine how it would feel if that person didn't want to be in your presence, let alone be near you. How would that make you feel? That scenario reminds me of how it is when we don't fear God. And let me give you an example and go into a little bit more detail. In Exodus 19, God was speaking to Moses. They had a relationship. And God told Moses that he brought the Israelites out of Egypt so that he could bring them to himself. Remember Adam and Eve when God walked with them intimately? God had that type of intimacy with them before they sinned. But when we move to Exodus 20, Moses was coming down from the mountain with God, and God's presence accompanied him. And the Bible says that they were scared. They feared God and could not be close to him. They couldn't be in God's presence. They said from a distance to Moses, "You speak to us, Moses. Don't let God speak to us directly. Otherwise, we will die." They were in sin, worshiping a calf. They couldn't stand the presence and the holiness of God. Does that remind you of when Adam sinned and how he hid? He couldn't stand in the presence of God without his shame. So Moses responded to them. He responded to the people. And he said that, "Do not be afraid, for God has come to test you, so that you will fear him and will not sin." This is the Christian Standard Bible version. If you go to the New King James Version, it says, Moses said to the people, "Do not fear, for God has come to test you, and that his fear may be before you, so that you may not sin." This is Exodus 20, verse 20. When you look at the translations, you see that fear, the first fear, was interchanged with being afraid, and the second word, fear, stayed the same. This is where the original word comes in of pahad versus yera. If you haven't, I implore you to check out the video by Afia Jakwa, where she explains it a bit further. Now, why was Moses able to stay within this environment so comfortably, whereas the Israelites couldn't? What was the difference between Moses and the Israelites? That three-letter word, sin. It says so in Exodus 20:20. God was coming to test them so that they would not fear him, and that the safeguard is sin. And guess what? They failed miserably. If the same were to happen today, would you and I pass, or would we fail? Would we be like Moses, who was so comfortable in the presence of God? Or would we stand away and say, "Moses, speak to us," because we can't be in God's presence? James 4 verses 8 says, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded." Those who fear or are scared of God draw away from him because they have something they want to hide and can't be in his presence. But those who fear God, that is, those who revere him as a holy God, can't keep away from him. They realize they need more and more of him and aggressively draw nearer and nearer to him to know more. As John Bevere says, they are actually more scared to be away from him. As God told Moses he brought the Israelites out of Egypt to bring them to himself, God is bringing you out of your Egypt to bring you to himself. James 4 verse 8 says again, "Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you." He needs you to take the first step. And so which fear of God applies to you? Is it the pahad, where you are scared of God, like the Israelites? Or is it the jerah, like Moses, where it was reverence, and he actually enjoyed being in God's presence?